So I come over, we end up hooking up, we end up banging it out. Right?
It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah. Like it was like not even no effort. It started becoming a regular thing. And I heard that she got with somebody. I heard she got a boyfriend. So almost 2 months later, she hits me up. She's like, "Hey, come on over." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And that night, I'm leaving her dorm room, and I hear another door open up behind me. So there's another dorm somewhere down the hall, open up, and another guy's leaving. He notices where I come out of. He realizes that I just came out of his best friend's girlfriend's room.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please comment. Please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Drop a comment below. Any comment will do. If you guys are watching on Monday morning, and it's the premiere, Monday mornings episodes aren't live, but I do post them as a premiere on Monday mornings on YouTube. So sound off in the live chat, because I'm usually in there editing clips for the morning. So I'm usually in there. So, sound off. And then also there's a chat replay, so you can, leave your ideas and stuff like that. And then people can go back and see what your thoughts were as the podcasts go on. So do that. Also, if you're listening on an audio version, right, like on iTunes or whatever, leave us a 5-star review and actually write out why you like the show. If you write out a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, I periodically go through that, and I will read your review on the air. So that's a free way to get a shout out. Follow me on all social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good social media platforms. I'm really trying to get more people to follow me on Instagram, though. I really like Instagram as a platform. I have a new TikTok account too, which I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. It's at Best Men's Pod. The link's in the description for that as well. But I'm really trying to grow my Instagram now. TikTok can eat a bag of schlongs. Oh, support the podcast, guys. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. That's patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. And that will get you on the beer credits at the end of Monday's episodes. Plus you get, all of these Monday episodes ad free. So all the interviews without the intro and outro stuff, no commercials. If you don't like commercials, join the Patreon for $10. And then everyone during the month of February, is this episode coming out in February? Let me see here. I'm recording this ahead of time. So, this is like the last Monday in February. So this is your last chance, guys. You have today, if you're listening on Monday, and you have tomorrow, Tuesday, to take advantage of this offer. But anyone that's on the Patreon the entire month of February gets the Law of Attraction course for 50% off. So if you've been waiting to do it, like, this is your last chance. Okay. This offer is going away. This is going away. And then Law of Attraction is going back to full price. But speaking of the Practical Law of Attraction course, I'm going to be playing an ad for that here in a minute. But if you feel like you're stuck, right? You're stuck in life, whether it's, your health, relationships, finances, whatever. If you feel like you just keep spinning your wheels, no matter what you do, you keep ending up with the same results, there's a reason for that. And it starts with your mindset. And my course will teach you how to reprogram your mind using things like affirmations and, audio recordings that you listen to at night, stuff like that, to reprogram your subconscious mind to achieve goals so big it will blow your mind. So check out that course, loa.comeonmanpod.com. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. If you do, I will send you some free stickers as well. I've been sending these out like crazy to people. So if you are on the list, if you haven't received an email from me saying, hey, what's a good mailing address for me to mail these to you? It might be in your spam folder. So check that out. Or DM me on Instagram and say, hey man, I signed up for your email list, but I never I never got an email from you because, I'm using MailChimp to manage all that. And a lot of mail providers are just immediately putting that in spam. So DM me on Instagram. And, if that's the case, if you're on the email list, DM me and I will, I'll get these out to you. No problem. But I'm really just trying to build an email list in case I ever get deplatformed again, Other than that, let's get into my guest today. My guest is Glenn Lawrence. He is the producer and co-host of the DragonShip podcast on YouTube with our mutual friend RP Thor. He also has his own YouTube channel. He's a really good guy. He's a producer now for Paul Benjamin, Apex Mindset. Paul Benjamin. He's doing production work for him too. But and then Glenn's also an actor in Hollywood. He's been in some Hollywood films. Interesting guy. He's sort of a religious red pillar. But the reason why I had him on the podcast was he once had to deal with false. I got to say it for the YouTube algorithm. False gRape allegations when he was in the military. So he used to be in the military, and he had to deal with all this stuff. Those false allegations caused him to go through a lot of PTSD. So there's a lot of guys out there that are afraid to talk to women because of situations like this. Now, this is a pretty long episode. I think this goes for about 2 hours because it's a really fascinating conversation. We get into all that. We get into a bunch of other stuff too. Great conversation. Grab your popcorn because we're going in. We're going in deep on this one. This is actually a really good interview, and Glenn's a good guy to know. So stay tuned for that. And otherwise, I will bring you that conversation right after these words. Do you want a positively unfair advantage in life? Most people tiptoe through life hoping they'll make it safely to death. They let life happen to them. Up until now, I'm assuming that's been your situation. Am I right about that? But you know deep down that you're destined for more. You know that you deserve more money or better relationships. Yet you're stuck doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same results. That ends today because you're going to check out my Practical Law of Attraction course. My Practical Law of Attraction course will give you the tools necessary to write your own story. You will be in the driver's seat of your life, not just the passenger. Your life is already getting better because you're listening to this message right now. Access this course at loa.comeonmanpod.com. That's loa.comeonmanpod.com. When you're done with this course, the results that you see for yourself will be better. Others will see how your life is changing for the better. And you'll know that everything in this course is true because your life will be better. But the choice is up to you. You have to decide if you want to stay where you are or achieve goals so big that it will blow your mind. The law of attraction is nothing without action. So what are you waiting for? Act now. All right, joining me is the Hollywood heartthrob of the manosphere. He's also the producer and co-host of the DragonShip podcast on YouTube with our mutual friend, RP Thor. He's also now producing for our other mutual friend, Paul Benjamin, on Apex Mindset, right? It's my man, Glenn Lawrence. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? How you been?
I've been good, man. This is good. I like that you reached out to me about this story, and how you actually had to deal with, and we're we're playing this on YouTube, so we have to call it gRape because we can't be adults on YouTube. We can't say words, that normal people say.
No, so, we can't call it what it really is. We have to say kid-friendly words that rhyme with great punch and
it's so ridiculous that you can't have an adult conversation. It's funny too because like my channel, it's marked as for not for kids.
Same here.
Yeah. So it's like, why is it even an issue that we're talking about this? One thing I did notice today, right? Because we were talking about this backstage. I just started a new TikTok account. And I noticed with the new TikTok account, I can actually set individual videos to be 18 plus, which is something I've been asking for a long time. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, see, but the sad thing is like, I think if you put it at 18 plus, it like doesn't put it up in the search really well. Like
Oh,
like your algorithm, it doesn't work with the algorithm really well. You don't get like really good traction.
God, I
Like
hate that damn app, dude.
like I just got like YouTube just struck a couple of my videos with 18 plus because I have mine set for not for kids.
Oh yeah, well, if you're talking about YouTube, one thing that I've noticed is that pretty much by default, every video I upload now, they market or they immediately demonetize it. They immediately put limited ads on it, and so then I have to go through after posting and say manual review, and then it
Yeah.
gets cleared. Like almost all of them get cleared. It's just like, dude, why are you guys doing this to me? You know?
Man, they'll once you get on their radar and they start shadow banning you, like YouTube will keep you quiet. You know, I when Paul from Apex told me that he was shadow banned, I was like, dude, your stuff is not even triggering. Like you don't even Paul's the most delicate, polite person, you know, when he's like being professional. He's very cautious in his delivery. You know, he tries to he does a really good job at walking that line where he could be honest, but also, you know, say things that are true, but without upsetting anybody. You know, like so for him to be shadow banned, I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, when he told me that, I was like, you are like, because I will. I've toned it down quite a bit, trying to color within the lines in these platforms, but. Yeah, like when I first got on TikTok in 2021, like I was, you know, every other word was an F-bomb. I mean, I'm a sailor though, you know, like that.
Oh yeah, no, you guys don't. That's part of your vocabulary. Like if
Right?
you're a sailor and you do not cuss, like
You have
something's
to
wrong
wonder
with
about
you.
me. Am I really a sailor?
Like were you really a sailor, or did you just like go to basic training and then you ran out of, you know, what are you guys your timeout cards, right? You know, your timeout from training cards.
We didn't. That was that came after my time, but the stress cards.
Like stress.
Yeah.
Need timeout from stress.
I'm
Like,
stressed. Yeah.
like the Navy is the one that implemented that, right?
I can't say the P word. My vagina hurts. Yeah.
Your badge card. you put on your pink beanie, right? And you guys were like,
right.
Timeout.
Yeah. You were in the Air Force, right?
Yes.
Air Force. What were they called? Drill sergeants in Air Force?
TIs.
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 Okay, so we called them RDCs in the Navy,
Yep.
Recruit Division Commanders.
Yep.
RDC, can I have some Vagisil? My vagina hurts.
I need some Motrin. I need some Motrin and a chocolate bar.
Right. Oh man, we're terrible. So we were going to discuss how you had to deal with false gRape allegations when you were in the military. But before we get to that, so you joined the Air Force. When did you join, and approximately how long were you in?
So I joined. The funny thing is, okay, so I left for basic on the 20th of April in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah,
I had just gotten out of the Navy. I got out in 2002.
Yeah. No, I think it was 23. And I went in. I remember like I went to MEPS March, like the March right prior to. Finally got my paperwork through.
For the non-military people, MEPS is a military entrance processing station. It's where you go to join, get your ass looked at, your asshole looked at.
It's the first time you get violated by strangers that you don't know in a lineup with other strangers you don't know.
Right. They literally have you bend over and spread your butt cheeks, and they just look at your asshole. They don't
with
touch
other guys in the room in line with you. Like it's not like you do it by yourself. You got no privacy. It's just like, hey guys, hold your nuts, bend over, cough. You know, like
right. The worst part for me was, I mean, that was kind of degrading, but the whole duck walking thing, on the tile floor on barefoot on your heels walking.
Yep.
That hurts, man. That's not
Man.
comfortable.
That was, and like it wasn't like they didn't even have like any like sympathy or like like because I was like young guy, I was 18. Like I never been in that scenario where I was at to be like the locker room is one thing, but we're not doing shit. We're just getting dressed, So
right.
you're not,
No,
like,
you don't have guys literally saying, bend over, spread your ass cheeks. Let me look at your asshole.
Yeah, that's a new thing. Like you didn't even see that in porn back then.
Yeah.
So it's like they had no sympathy. Like they just ran you through like cattle, like hurry up, just like spread them. Let's go.
You know what though? Wouldn't you be that way too if you had to look at people's assholes for a living? You're like, oh, come on, get out of here.
I would even do my job. I'll probably just like I would like look at like a mole or something on like their thigh. I'm like, yeah, good, go spread them.
It was awful experience for you guys out there that have never served in the U.S. military.
If you haven't gone through it yet, you guys haven't lived.
Yeah, get ready to live, guys.
you haven't lived until you've been violated.
Well, one thing that people that just don't understand when it comes to veterans, is that we literally sign away our life. Like we sign away all rights to ourselves. We become government property. You can, if your command wants to be assholes to you, if you go out and get a tattoo on like Liberty, you go out, in town and get a tattoo and they want to be a dick, they can write you up and send you to NJP for destruction of government property. I got a couple. I got some when I was
it's funny. I got most of my tattoos while I was in. And I wasn't like, you would think I was a sailor, like as many tattoos that I end up acquiring while I was in, like, you would think I was a sailor. And the funny thing is like, well, we'll get to that part later. Cause my ex-wife ended up becoming a sailor. Like after we got married, and after I served, I had a friend that's a Navy recruiter. Good friend of mine, still really good friend. We talk like all the time still. It's funny because he just hit me up about you recently, following your podcast.
Really?
Yeah. He's a retired chief now. He's out, and he does nuclear engineering.
Okay.
He's always traveling the world. Like he's stationed out of Atlanta. He just left California. It was a huge bummer of mine because when he left, like my bro left. But now he's in Atlanta. He's doing a bunch of stuff like nuclear engineering for some water plant company or something like that.
Okay.
But he's the one he recruited her in. So it's funny because I went from being the active duty member, then to playing the role of a spouse of military.
You're a dependopotamus?
I was a dependopotamus. No, like the funny thing was like I was still working and still owning, like I had barbershops that I owned at the time.
Okay.
And
you're a barber?
Yeah, I owned barbershops. I was a barber. That was like the first thing I did when I got out of the military was I got my barber's license with the GI Bill. And then it wasn't until years later I got into personal training. I became a bodybuilding competitor. And then I got into corrections. So like when I was a personal trainer, that's when I was working as a fit boss for the Navy.
Okay. Yeah. We talked about that one time.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you do in the Air Force? What was did they call it MOS in Air Force?
Yeah, MOS. Like, I started off as a PJ, pararescue. And then I got injured and then I went to security forces. And then, so I did the majority of my time as security forces and I did missile security. So like, we would be out the MAFs and where the MAF, like there's a bunch of MAFs all over, the United States.
What's
so MAF is basically like where they have, it's like where the nukes are at. Like all our nukes are pointed to Russia and shit.
Missile. Like, what's the acronym though?
It's missile, like missile MAF. It's like missile armed facility or something like that. Like,
Okay.
I want to say it's like something like that, like missile arms facility.
What-
I don't know.
what they-
Somebody's gonna say, correct me in the chat. So
yeah,
don't
yeah.
worry.
Drop a comment or something, guys. So
Yeah.
one thing that I had a hard time getting over after I got out of the military was all the goddamn acronyms, and one of my friends in the Navy used to joke about it. He would say, "Oh, have you heard about the Navy's acronym reduction program, NARP?" Yeah, everything's an acronym. I think
there's more acronyms in the military than there is like ever. Like, and when you start talking to civilians when you first get out, and you just talk in military lingo, you're like, copy that, or you're like, like just anything. Like where's your bearing? I remember telling people along like, get your bearing under control. Where's your bearing? Like, bearing.
Bearing. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. When my daughter was learning how to drive, I would tell her, I said it jokingly though, because I mean, I've been out of the Navy for a long time, so I don't really use a lot of Navy lingo, but I did tell her that, hey, that car is CBDR to you right now. And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, that's constant bearing decreasing range. Come on. It means you're going to crash. It means you're going to crash. So,
yep. Yep. That's funny because I used to tell my son all the time, like, avert your eyes.
Avert your eyes.
Avert your eyes. He'd be like, avert them. Goes, I don't know what that word means, Dad.
Yeah. I still, speaking of kids, I still use, or when my kids were little, I would tell them, like if they had to go take a shower, but I wanted them to take a quick shower, I would say, go take a Navy shower. Go take a Navy shower. That meant get in there, wash up, get the fuck out. And
balls and out. Pinch balls, butts, and out.
Right. I'm like, don't take it. So there's a difference. The kids understand the difference between a Hollywood shower and a Navy shower. Like Hollywood is when you're just in there, taking your time and singing and whatever. That's a Hollywood shower.
I don't like, honestly, I think Hollywood showers are probably just as quick, if not quicker.
Real Hollywood, maybe.
Yeah. Because like, I mean, man, like there's times like we have to get ready and we're changing scenes. Like we have to change wardrobe for the next scene. And you have no privacy. Like you have to be comfortable dropping trout in the middle of like a room full of people because you may not have the accommodations set up for, you to have privacy. Like, I mean, I've worked on productions where, there's been major celebrities like, Vivica A. Fox, just getting undressed right there in front of you. And you're like,
I one time years ago, man, we're going off on a tangent here. But that's okay. We'll get to it, guys. We'll get to it. So years ago, I took a tour of the set of Chuck on Warner Brothers lots. I had a friend who was on the camera crew, and for my birthday, he invited us up there to walk around the set. And they were filming. They were filming for an episode of Chuck, and the hot blonde chick that was on the show had to do like an underwear scene or something like that. So for that, leading up to that, we got to see them film a couple of scenes leading up to that. But once it got to the underwear scene, because we weren't a part of the crew, they asked us to leave the
set. They'll close. It's called a closed set.
Yeah.
When they do anything like intimate, they will do a closed set, and that's like the best thing that they could do. And even then, it's still kind of hard and awkward at times. Like, cause I did my first movie I ever did, like where I was at a prominent role in it. I had a sex scene.
My man.
And like, and it was like I was railing her, like going hard, like going to town. Like they didn't want no passionate, intimate. Like no, they like we want you to just drill her. And I'm like, it was really awkward, for me because one does
they put like a sock on your dick or something. Like what?
No, like so basically you're wearing like a man thong.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, okay.
And she's like naked. I mean, she's in lingerie and her titties are out, And it's just like, I mean, it's not like you didn't see anything. Everything was exposed, like, and it was. I understand why Sterling Cooper did his job. and how, like, you know, because after that, like after the first couple takes, you're like, I got this.
I interviewed Eric Everhard once too. He's a porn star. If you're not familiar with him, and he was telling me, like, back in the day, back before like Viagra and stuff, when he first got in, he said there was about five dudes that you always saw in this in all the adult film movies, because they were like the only guys that could like get it up on, like, with a room full of people watching, you know.
You know, that was weird too, because I could see that, like, right at first, like there was like nothing, no reaction. Like it was like an innie, like he was hiding. He had stage fright.
Dude.
And
yeah, I can imagine.
Because, like, you know, there's all these strangers in this room, one, and they're all looking at you, and they're all really close to you too. You got cameras like really close, getting different angles, and you're like, you don't want to like be thrusting, and then your dick hits the thing, and then, you know, mess up the scene, or like, you know, it's just a lot. There's a whole lot going on,
right?
And if you're not used to it, you're like, you're not gonna be able to perform,
right?
You know, like, and I could tell, like, at first, the first couple of takes that I was doing this, I was like, I was just really uncomfortable, you know, just like I was just trying to get like into the character, but I couldn't get into the character as quickly, because it's like, one, I didn't even know this chick. Like she was my co-star. We all got casted. I met her at the script read, but that was it. That was like the furthest of my communication. So like the second day of filming is a sex scene, and I had never talked to her. So like we took a break, and then it was just her and I in the room, and they're like, we rehearsed a couple things, but then like when we were in the room, she's like, let's just go at it. Like if we were just doing it, you know, she's like, you're hot, I'm hot. Let's just like give them a good show. Let's just pretend. Just do. She's like, let's just do it. Let's just go buck wild.
There you go. That would make it more realistic for sure.
And it made it so much easier, because I think she could tell, like, I was a little put off by the scenario. You know, she was obviously more experienced in this than I was at the time. So it was like, as soon as we had that conversation, and then like I had the green light, we had the green light to just do it, and we're like, cool. I mean, we didn't actually bang, but like we did everything that we needed to do to make it real.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'd love to pick your brain about that sometime. I used to have aspirations of being an actor back when I was in high school and stuff like that, but we'll get to that later. So going to the topic at hand here, this false allegation, this false gRape allegation, this incident wasn't what led you to the red pill though, right? Like you just recently went through a divorce.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
My divorce was, let's see. So it finalized in 2020.
Okay. A couple years ago.
Yeah.
What did the pandemic sort of like really just sort of push it over the edge? Because I mean, there was a lot of divorces happening during 2020.
No, so like everything came out. So my wife had 3 affairs.
Whoa. Okay.
Underneath my nose.
Yeah.
I was working as a corrections officer. I was a personal trainer, sponsored athlete for, you know, supplement companies as a bodybuilder. So, and I was a youth pastor. So I was doing a lot. I was my kid's football coach, you know, like I said, she was in the Navy. So, you know, the job, you know, like you're
gone all the time.
Busy. You're gone all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're home, I mean, you're either doing you have watches where you still got to stay overnight at work and stuff like that. So like, you know, her job was very busy, and she ended up putting on chief too. So mind you, let me just say this. I got her to chief. Like when it came to social, you know, things, she sucked. Nobody in her command like really were her friend. Like all the people in her command were my friends. You know, like
okay.
You know, like I knew everybody that was involved from the gym somehow. So like even like the people that pinned her were like, dude, you know, she made chief because of you. You know, she wasn't gonna make this shit without you. You know, like, oh, cool, whatever. I give her credit because she's the one actually doing the work, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But so like, and she was so insecure with my fitness change because I was 285 pounds. So I got out when I was really injured and I was fat. So I was big and I wasn't as, physically fit or in condition that, that I was remotely attractive in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But, so as soon as she was deployed, I was just focusing on training, I wanted to, be the guy. So when she got back and I was the guy and she wasn't the girl, like she like deployment, you get a bunch of junk food out there, you don't get to work out as often. I mean, you have the facilities, but the timing is never,
I'll tell you what, man, not and I don't know your wife, and this isn't directed at your wife at all.
Oh, the
or
bohos?
Your ex-wife. No, we called them Navajos. Yeah.
The bohos, man.
But they so many chicks in the Navy are fat. They are just so out of shape. They're flubby as hell. I could probably count on one hand like chicks that were halfway decent, in shape, and I could count like less than like maybe 3 chicks on the entire ship that were I would consider hot.
But see, then you got to remember though, like, right, they may not be hot when you first get on the boat, but when you get like 6 months out into deployment, and there's only like 150 or 300 girls on the boat with 5,000 guys, because she was on the carrier. So when you have like 300 girls or 500 girls, period, on a ship with 5,000 men, even the 3 will eventually look like a 7 or an 8.
Oh, I know. Yeah. We call that the boot camp effect, because in boot camp, in boot camp, it was very, very much the same. There was chicks that, man, there was a chick I remember in boot camp that I walked up to we had a salad bar in the galley. I walked up to the salad bar and I looked up, and through the sneeze guard, I see this chick on the other side. Bitch had a beard, dude. She had a fucking facial hair. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I just like put my salad plate down because I was grossed out by it, went and sat down. And then when we were in berthing, well, we called it berthing. They were basically barracks, but we called it berthing. And so we're in there one night, and we're sitting there in our RDCs. We're doing like a Q&A session or whatever. And I, like a smart ass, I raised my hand and asked my RDC. I said, I was like, hey, petty officer, why is it that we all have to shave, but the females don't? He made me do push-ups for that one.
Oh man, that was good.
But it was worth it. So, but yeah, you're right. Like you go out to sea, you're out there for 6 months. Like they start looking pretty good because your options are limited.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's like
many options.
It's like, oh man. Well, you know how like we all got in trouble there with old Torshaa. And she was saying how you can't say that Pearl is getting by on her boobs and looks and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's the same effect though. Like the simps are going to be simps, man. I don't care what she looks like.
See, Torsha's effect is different though. Like I call it the Torshaa effect, is because she's not average. Like the average woman in America is overweight.
Sure. Yeah.
So she's not unattractive. So Torshaa is attractive. And
well, and I would say the same thing with Pearl. I mean, Pearl's tall. She's not like.
But see, that's the thing. It's like fat, she's not. But she's not attractive either, though.
Like she's not attractive, but there's still simps, dude. That's all. I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying like what makes Pearl more believable is because she's not attractive. In my mind, like because that makes her look like because like if you're attractive, it's like okay, then you're doing it to gain attention. Right. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that's what Torsha's doing, but I'm saying it makes it more difficult for her to be believable to guys is because it's just the non-X-rated version of OnlyFans for her. That's how people will, that's how people have explained it to me. Like when they listen to Torsha's like, she's hot. She could be doing OnlyFans, but this, for whatever reason, she's not. This is like the non-nudity version of OnlyFans where you're still getting the same effect, where they're still sending super chats in, you're still getting people liking your video, like you're still getting paid from it to a degree, like you're still able to make something off of it, but you're just not taking off your clothes. It's funny too. I think what really upset her by our critique was and I thought that
I thought that Paul Benjamin and I were actually giving her props. We were saying like, hey, look, she knows Rollo stuff really well. I would say that Torshaa knows Rollo stuff better than I do, but I haven't.
Absolutely.
I've only read his book. I've read his books like once through. That's about it. I do watch his live streams and stuff like that, but I'm not like a Rollo guy. Like I sort of have taken what I found useful from the information and applied it to everything else that I've learned, right? I'm more of like, if you wanted to say I was any kind of guy, it would be a Corey Wayne guy or a Dr. Robert Glover guy. Like I know their material way better than I know Rollo's. So if you wanted to get into a who knows Rollo best contest, then Torshaa wins, hands down.
Torshaa does great work when it comes to breaking down. Like I love how she like goes and she'll bring out some old articles on his blog.
Yeah.
And then and break those down. Like she has a thing. She does great at what she does. Like I said, the issue for her is because she's the hot chick. The regular girls are going to call her, she's a grifter because she's hot and she's trying to use her boobs to use her sexuality to make money. Guys are going to say the same thing, because she's hot, that's why she's getting attention, So when it comes to being believable, right, that's where you remove her physical attractiveness and you throw it out the window, right? And if that's not a factor, you got Pearl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think that's sort of what pissed Torshaa off the most, though, is like that we were sort of saying, well, she does have a huge audience because there's simps in the audience, right? That's not an attack on her. That's actually an attack on the simps. But
it's like the attack on the guys in the space that say they're red pill. That they say like they're not a simp. Mm-hmm. They just show how much they are a simp.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
So I think she's just mad that it came across that we don't take her seriously,
And it's not that at all. Like, we do take her seriously, and I would love to see her grow and blossom and do great things. I mean, I know people say like women shouldn't be in this space, but I think there's a degree of there is a degree where women should be in this space. Maybe not in, I don't think women should be teaching men anything, but I think they should be teaching women, they should be focused on getting the women right.
It would work out better, but it's like, you can't keep these women out. It's really easy for them to build a following because of the simp factor. So I'm just like, hey, more power to you, sister, and I sort of look at it like, we could, you can work with some of these women. Like I've been on Allie's podcast. I've been on Sarah Dawn Moore's podcast now. And you can work with these women and get in front of their audience and actually, sort of like bring some of these guys that could use some information from a dude over to your platform and not shit on these women, I don't blame them at all for using their sexuality to lure in.
I think there's a necessity to them. Like, again, like, I mean, even from a biblical standpoint, right? There's a scripture in the Bible where it says like older women teach younger women how to love your husband, how to love your kids, how to be a good stay-at-home wife, how not to be a drunkard, how not to be a gossiper. Like it tells them like older women mentor these younger women to how to be good women, good wives, right? So the way I look at it is like that's kind of like that's what I think the women in this space should be doing, focusing on that, right? Like, because that kind of is congruent with what the Bible says, like you're not teaching men, you're teaching women how to be good women, and I think that's a good way to do it. It's when they they start telling men how to do things is where it's kind of get a little weird. But again, as long as it's congruent, as long as they have
a good message and it's not fairy tale bullshit. Like
as long as it's congruent with everything else, like the principles of everything, then I don't see a problem with it. But I wouldn't take advice from people like that. That's just me.
That's me either. Yeah, same.
But like back to what you were saying. So I went in the military. Mm-hmm. I was, I met this chick in A school when I got to the security forces A school.
Mm-hmm. This is the gRape story.
Yeah, the gRape story.
Oh, okay. Before we get to that, let's wrap up with your wife. So
oh yeah, okay. So Yeah,
So how long were you married? And then and I guess she cheated on you 3 times. So I think we
okay, so
know
let me where I
we know
got
how
that.
it ended.
Yeah. So I was really busy. I was doing a lot of things. Like I said, I was a youth pastor, personal trainer, fitness competitor, corrections officer, football coach. Like I was doing a lot, and I was dad. I was dad, and I did everything. Dad was always home. Like dad was always around, like, raising the kids.
Yeah.
That was me. I juggled everything, and that's how it was. I took him. There's been plenty of times when my son was young, and I would take him to the gym with me, and he would just sit there and watch me work out, or he'll work out with me. There was no separation there, absolutely none. And when I got in shape and I got really, physically fit, my wife got really insecure. Obviously
Dread
I was getting a lot. Oh yeah, dread was like serious, and I didn't even know what it was going on.
Yeah.
Because like I knew I was getting attention, but see, I just thought like people were just being nice. Like I never read into it, because when I was so overweight, like it wasn't like I was getting that attention before. People were just being nice to me before then too. So I just took it as people being nice for the longest time. I was kind of naive to a lot of it.
It's like Dr. Glover in his book Dating Essentials for Men talks about how he used to think women were nice too, and he goes, no, like when a waitress is bending over showing you cleavage, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, I really thought like it was like, oh, I had a woman compliment my shirt one time, and I was like, it was like a V-neck, it was tight, I was like ripped out, and she's like, that's such a nice shirt, and I was like, thanks, like,
hey,
thank you,
pal.
Like, yeah, like I was like, and my wife was right there, she's like, fuck that bitch. Like, what? Why are you being so rude? She complimented the shirt. Like, she liked the shirt. It matches my clothes, it's cool.
For guys that are listening, like you can use this to your advantage. Like
yes,
that actually does work to your advantage. Yeah.
Oh, I ended up doing that very well. But so she started accusing me of cheating. And it threw me for a loop. Like I was like, what the? Because like I was getting clients messaging me all the time. Personal trainer. So, and I had like 2 or 3 female clients, but the female clients, I never trained, 1, alone, and 2, like I knew their husband. Like I never took a single female client. I only took a married female client.
Yeah.
And I did that for my own integrity. Like I just never wanted to be put in that position. From after being accused of something, you never want to be put in a compromising position to where you are ever looked at doing something negative like that ever again.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I had to know them. Like it wasn't just like, oh, they met me at the gym and they want me to. I would, I was very, very, strict on who I would have to, like. You would go through a vetting process, and so like she ended up started thinking like I was having an affair with one of my female clients, and I'm like, what the hell are you tripping? And then so I started doing like the whole placating to her, jumping through hoops, constantly trying to prove to her that I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. That's the wrong way of doing it. Yeah.
And I realized what she was accusing me of, what she was doing.
Yeah, George Bruno in the comments one day was saying that a lot of times women will accuse you of doing something that they're doing.
Yeah, it's like the guilt of what they're doing. If they're doing it, they believe that you have to be doing it too. That's how they rationalize it.
It's a mental gymnastics thing.
It's like if I'm doing it, they're doing it.
Yeah. So
they have to be doing it. Like, look, he's looking good. He has 6% body fat. Oh, he has to be cheating on me. Like he's gone all day long. He's always working. He has to be cheating on me. And my location was always on, so you could always track where I was. And so I started like jumping through all these hoops to try to placate to her. And then I just noticed things that started like that. All the signs were there. When I look back at it, all the flags were there. Like, when she put like a restriction on like, when is the operating hours for sex between this time and this time? It was like before 8 a.m. and before 9 p.m. I'm like, I'm gone at work before 8. And I don't get home until about 9.
Yeah.
So we're basically saying that by the time I get home, there's no sex available.
Right.
And so like, it was little
The
things like
sex
that.
shop is closed for you,
Yeah, I was like,
sir.
what the hell? With business hours? I know the owner. Like I can't get in.
My girlfriend, if she's listening to this, which she usually does tune in on Mondays, she would be absolutely appalled by this. My girlfriend has what she calls the 3 a.m. rule, which is, you know how you wake up sometimes, you wake up in the middle of the night and you got like a rager, you got a raging heart on, and it takes you out of, it wakes you out of deep sleep because it's so
like
so
the
throbbing.
pulsation of it is just like throbbing. It's like,
yeah, and you're just like, fuck. You can you swing it, you're knocking over lamps and shit. Like my girlfriend says, don't even wake me up. Just put it in. Just put it in. Just that she's like, I will help you relieve that pressure. You just don't worry about it. You know, she calls it the 3 a.m. rule. I'm entitled.
My girl now will wake up if she sees me like saluting the flag. Yeah. She just climbs on. I could be, dude.
That's a good woman, man.
She's fucked me so many times while I'm sleeping. She's like, I think she's like, that was great last night. I was like, what was?
You didn't even wake up.
No, I'll be out like, going at it.
Yeah. My girl, she's like, don't even wake me up. That would be disrespectful if you woke me up. Just put it in.
And she like, my girl tells me the same thing, and I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, because she goes to sleep late and she gets up early, and I'm like, I just can't do that to you. I just can't. You're gonna ruin your whole day tomorrow. You're gonna be exhausted.
What usually keeps me from doing that sort of thing is like, I'm too tired mentally to like, I'm like, I mean, I could do it, but then I gotta like physically do stuff, and I'm just too tired to do it. I'm old as fuck, man. But
it's also like the consent thing. Like I know people say consent's not sexy.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, your situation, which is a good segue into that. Because I'm not a consent guy, and you know, like we talked about this, you know, ahead of time, and we can get into it a little bit, but I've always looked at it like as long as a guy sort of reads a girl's body language, and you know, you can tell if she's down, or if she's, you know, if she's like, you know, back it up and stuff, you know, okay, cool. You know what? Back off. So as long as you can read the body language, you don't have to verbally ask for consent. So I'm sort of against that, but your situation is a little bit different. So I think this is actually a pretty good segue, maybe.
Yeah. Like I would say the same before the incident.
Yeah.
I would say that same thing.
Yeah.
Like you can just pick up on body cues. You can pick up on body language.
But this wasn't an issue with body language at all with this chick.
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
There was verbal consent.
Mm-hmm.
Like she invited me over there for this.
Yeah.
Like,
let's before we get to the incident,
yeah,
I don't want to rush it.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you meet this girl initially?
So again, like we were in A school.
Mm-hmm. You said you were.
You want me to wrap up like the divorce part first? Like, I feel like we didn't leave.
Oh, did we not wrap that up? Well,
yeah,
I mean,
okay, I can wrap it up really quick. So like,
let's wrap that up.
I found out like her phone broke, and she was actually she was doing a floating from San Diego back to Washington.
Okay.
So like a turtleback. Was it turtleback or something like that? Is that called turtleback?
Tiger Cruise?
No, it wasn't the Tiger Cruise.
Tiger Cruise is Hawaii back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
it was just like workups.
Okay.
Right. They're doing some workups before the deployment. They're getting ready to deploy in a few months. They were just doing a few workups to, you know, test whatever out. Mm-hmm. And so her phone broke, and she emailed me and told me that her phone broke. So I ordered a new phone. Mm-hmm. And like she sucks at phones, so I always had to like update, you know, like plug in her email, you know, do the whole, you know, download, you know, backups and everything like that for her. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna get it all set up for her and be ready to go. Mm-hmm. Well, I did that, and then like the phone's on, so it starts beeping, and like all these messages. So I'm thinking they're notifications like for the apps or whatever. I was just trying to like silence everything.
Yeah.
But then there were all these messages. and with all these different guys, and like, or the 3 different guys that I know. One of them was a friend of mine. And
Good friend.
Yeah, asshole. And it was like, it blew my mind. Like, so I found out about all 3 of them all at once.
So she was seeing them all 3 of these guys at the same time?
No, that's the thing. They happened in different, over the 13 years we were married, they happened at different times.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were married for 13 years. All right.
Yeah, we were married for 13 years. So I found out about all 3 of them when I found out about the last one. And it like rocked my world.
But they're all still messaging her.
No, these were just all saved messages.
Oh, she just saved them all. Oh,
yeah, like,
okay.
Because like your cloud will back them up, and then when you download it, it will download all your saved stuff. So when I see all these messages, I'm like, oh, what? Who? Like, like one of them was said hubby, and it wasn't even my phone number. Like, what I'm saying? Like,
oh, work hubby.
Yeah, work. That work husband on deployment husband.
Yeah.
And so I found that all out. It hit me all at once. We got divorced, and I lost custody of my son. And I just started getting into Hollywood, so I really didn't have much going on. I get paid by the VA for disability, for injuries, and so I was just doing that, grinding and doing that, because I moved back to LA before the divorce, and we got divorced while we were in LA, and so I just my work just getting in the industry just started. I just started getting some traction, so I didn't even finish like my first movie yet. I was doing like little stuff, and then we got divorced, and her and my son went back to Washington. She ended up marrying the guy that the last affair guy she had, partner. And I just remember like my whole world come crashing down. The church that I was involved in as a youth pastor blamed her affairs on me. Basically I wasn't a good servant leader husband.
Servant leader, yeah.
If I was a better servant leader, she wouldn't have been. She wouldn't have been, because
that's that new trad messaging that they're pushing right now. The servant leader, yeah.
And it's funny because I had a conversation with Michael Foster. He's on part of 21 Con about this recently. Like me and him had a phone call. Pretty decent guy. Like really nice guy. I know him and Rollo have issues, but to me he was very nice and very informative.
The 21 convention guys are what Rollo refers to as a no-fly zone.
yeah. And see, things I told Rollo that I had this conversation with him. So, and Rollo had full disclosure of our conversation. I was cool with him about it. But we just talked about like biblical stuff and everything. So, I don't have no issue. Like your beef is their beef is not my beef.
Yeah. I try to stay out of that for the most part.
Yeah.
I will not work with Anthony Johnson though. Just
no, I don't think that's just a no-go for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It just the guys, like I've had guys that have been to 21 Con on my podcast. I mean, hell, Rollo and Rian and Rich Cooper and all those guys.
They started from there. All Rule Zero started from there, pretty much.
Yeah. So I've had John Sonmez from Bulldog Mindset on and stuff like. So it's like I don't necessarily have a beef with the 21 convention as it is. It's like Anthony Johnson. Like I've listened to all these guys' stories and I'm just like, all right, yeah, no, don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, so like my church, the pastor like demoted me from being a youth pastor because I didn't have the affair, but my wife did. But
but you weren't a servant leader.
I was a servant leader, and then he ends up having her fill in for me. The adulteress was filling in as the youth pastor. So I kind of left the church after that.
Yeah.
And then when the divorce like finally took place, like it just rocked my world. I was suicidal. Everything's spiraling down. And
is that how you got into the red pill?
The red pill, yeah, because I remember I was actually Googling, trying to figure out like reasons like to make it, you know, like how could life be worth it after divorce?
Mm-hmm.
And I came across The Rational Male on YouTube.
Mm.
And it was Rollo and Pat at the time.
Mm.
And I remember watched his live stream, and that's when I first heard about this book, The Rational Male, and Rollo Tomasi. And I knew the name because in Hollywood, I mean, everybody knows this from LA Confidential, you know, like that's a character name. So I was like, what? That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought his book, read his whole book, like within like 48 hours or something like that. And I remember going through it. I'm like, everything he talked about in there, like experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
I lived there. I was like, does this guy write a story of in my life? Is he like over my shoulder, you know, spying on me, you know? Because I literally been through all this. And that's when I realized like I'm not the only person. I'm not the only guy that's going through this issue, you know, because I would try to talk to other men that I knew in my life that I looked up to, and like they didn't understand. Like they looked at it as my divorce was a failure of me as a man, as me as a husband and a man. My divorce is the effects of my failures of a husband and a man, and it was like
I never had people specifically look at me that way because like almost all my aunts and uncles have all been through divorce. My mom and dad never did, but they're like, you know, they've been together forever and they're miserable. You know, they're that couple. But but I felt that way. I felt because my parents never got divorced, my grandparents never got divorced, that I was a failure. I was like the first generation in my, you know, in that line of the family to have failed. And I had to ended up changing my mindset about the whole thing, but that's how I initially felt about it.
Yeah, and then see, like funny things, like my uncles and it's like they had a bunch of divorces. My dad had divorces, and you know, my dad went through a lot too. And you know, I remember people asking me in the family, like, "Well, is it you just couldn't make it work?"
Right? Yeah.
I'm like,
I did. I had, you know, I had some old Navy buddies. I had a Navy buddy that unfriended me because of the divorce.
Yeah.
Because he had a common law marriage with this Filipino chick that he was with forever, and she passed away, and he was like heartbroken that she had passed away, and he was basically, you know, that love struck, like, you know, she was my one true love thing, and like, oh, if you can't let her go and all this. I'm like, it has nothing to do with me letting her go. She divorced me, bro. Like,
yeah,
and,
you know, it wasn't. I think like the hardest part of it wasn't so much losing the ex-wife.
Yeah.
I think it was losing the title and the position of who you were, like your definition of a man, because men define themselves through their titles, right?
A lot of times, yeah.
You know, you ask them like, "Hey, so what do you do?" Like who's Paul? Like you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm a podcast host." You know, like that's a title. I'm a husband. That's a title. I'm a father. That's a title. I'm a personal trainer. That's a title. I'm a corrections officer. That's a title. These are all titles that men like give themselves, and that's how they define themselves, is through their title. And then when that's taken away from you, when that's stripped from you, you don't know. You start your identity is so much ingrained in who you are. Your title is that when your title is removed from you, that you didn't give it up, but somebody removes it from you. You feel like you don't know who you are. You know, you start losing. You feel like you lose your identity there. You're trying to redefine yourself. And I remember going through that. I'm like, I don't even know who I was. I became a shell of myself.
You get Rollo calls it getting zeroed out.
Yeah, getting zeroed out. And I remember going through the whole process. And I remember reaching out to Rollo in an email, like I wrote him a novel. He never responded, and I don't blame him. It was
He's like, a busy guy. Yeah,
it was like 10 pages long. You know, like it was ridiculous. But
he talks about the too long didn't read generation.
Yeah, like
my man's suicidal here. Yeah, no.
I pretty much wrote him like my own version of The Rational Male. Like, you know, like it was forever. I think I sent him a few audio messages too, like for like an hour long. You know, the first person I talked to was John from Bulldog Mindset. We did a live stream together. I reached out to him. We did a live stream together, and we're talking about it. And it was through my process of like, I needed to talk to somebody in this space that knew what was going on, that understood what I was talking about, that helped me talk it out, talk it through.
Mhm.
And we were talking about being zeroed out and suicide, male suicide, because I never experienced it really that much until then. That verge of just that despair and that desire to just end it all. Like there was like no hope, right? Like there was no reason. There's nothing I could find that was worth it at that time.
Mhm.
And so talking to him, and we did a live stream, and like listening to Rollo's work and reading, I read all his books. And then I started listening to everybody else in the space. I listened to Rollo, Rich, Rian for the longest time. And then I saw Paul Benjamin on Rich's show. And then shortly after that, that's when I connected with Paul. And then Paul actually ended up being my coach, and helped me go through the traumatic experience of the divorce and everything that went through it with it. And so the divorce happened, and Paul is the one that kind of like really bridged me over to getting over it. We did a EDMR therapy, and it worked for me. It was great.
I'm not familiar with EDMR.
It's the eye rapid movement. He's gonna kill me because we're gonna talk about it tomorrow, like, or something.
It's okay. Oh, I got it here. Eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. Okay.
So it's like it's for people with PTSD and stuff like that. This technique kind of helps them reframe the experience mentally. So it helps you like kind of remove the negative thought or image, or the feeling that you have with it, by implanting a positive in there. And it takes time, but there's keywords that you say, like what are you experiencing right now when you think about this? What is the experience? Defining like one or two words, and then it's reframing those words and then inserting them into this image here in your head. And like, if this is this now, do you still see it this way? Like, well, no. So it's reframing it, and it works. It took some time, but it definitely worked for me. And it was from there, that's when I started diving deeper into this space, and that's where I got there. But you would think I would have got there years ago.
Yeah.
From the gRape issue, and that's where we're going to now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is an even better transition. So how did you meet this girl? Like, if you sent me some messages on Instagram about it, this was a girl that was like, she was sort of like a friends with benefits type chick, right?
Yeah. So I met her at tech school, and tech schools are your guys' A school or C school or whatever.
Yeah.
And she ended up getting merged into our flight for some reason. Like, either I think she got injured, and then she was put on like a medical hold, so she couldn't go back to training until like she got cleared. And then she obviously was going to go back to her flight, or her squadron, because they're already in advance, they're ahead of her. So she got washed into ours. And during A school, like, we didn't really talk that much. Like, we knew each other, but she was being a social butterfly. And like, remember, few women, a lot of guys, tons of attention. Yeah. Right. So she was getting like, he was like talking to all these guys, whatever. And I didn't really care. Like, we would hang out as a group, but never like really hung out with her individually, until I got stationed at F.E. Warren in Wyoming. And so that's where I live. That's why I know Colorado so well, because I lived out that ways.
Is that up in Cheyenne?
Yeah, I was in Cheyenne.
Oh, my cousin was he was an officer in the Air Force. He was stationed up there for a while.
Yeah, so I ended up going stationed up there, and eventually I bump into her. Like, I'm driving to my barracks, and I park and see, like, we didn't have co-ed barracks. We had like floors, so like you wouldn't have men and women on the same floor. I think it was, you would have one floor for women, one floor for men, or whatever like that. And so my barracks are right here, hers is here, like they're next to each other. you know, and I remember
Easy to
parking
slip in.
Yeah, yeah. And like, well, you could go in there all the time. Like it was co-ed, like, but the floors were not co-ed, and you could go into a girl's dorm, but you just couldn't be there after certain hours or whatever because they had the dorm guard monitors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm going into my dorm or parking, going into my dorm, and she yells at me and she's like, "Hey, is that?" She called my name. I'm like, "Is that you?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, she's like, "It's me." I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Like, "You're here too?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just got here and we're just chopping it up." She's like, "Well, you should come over. We should get together." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." She's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Oh, this is my dorm's right here." She's like, "Oh, I'm right next door." I'm like, "Cool." She's like, "How about you come over tonight?" I'm like, "Cool, sounds good." So I come over and we end up hooking up. We end up banging it out. Right?
It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah. Like it was like not even no effort. Just showing up.
I just real quick side story. When I was leaving A school, there was this chick. I still remember her name was well, we'll leave it as Navy chick. She was an IS, intelligence specialist. So she was going to IS school and I was going to OS school. I was an operations specialist. And my flight out, because I was leaving, I graduated A school. I was supposed to go to my next school in Wallops Island. And my flight wasn't until the next day. So the Navy put me up at the Navy Lodge because I lost my room in the barracks. So they put me up at the Navy Lodge for the night. I put all my stuff in there and I was like, well, I'm going to go down to the barracks and see who's over there. And so I walked down there and I saw this chick, and I sort of loosely been friends with her throughout all of A school. And I walk over there and she's like, "Oh, I thought you graduated." I said, "Oh, I did. They got me over at the Navy Lodge." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And I go, "Yeah. You want to come hang out tonight?" And she's like, "Yeah." So she shows up and I don't know what her deal was, but she goes in there and just like, she goes in the bathroom, washes her feet, and then basically just like makes herself comfortable. And she's just like, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then we just fucking just started going at it. And it was like, it was almost like she knew, that was her plan all along, was just come over for a hookup. And it was like,
that was amazing to me. It was like, dude, it was like the easiest sex I've ever had in my life. Like there was no effort. Like no.
Yeah, I was 19 years old.
I didn't have to even show that I was interested in her.
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I had girlfriends before that. I had hooked up before that, lost my virginity when I was like 16 in high school. So it wasn't like, I wasn't used to having sex. I wasn't used to having sex that easy.
Yeah, you weren't used to having to work for it.
Right. Like take them on some dates and all this kind of work up to it and got to woo them a little bit and bring flowers and shit. No, just this chick just showed up and let's fuck. And
that's when I realized
it was great. It was wonderful. Anyway, so
it was like those experiences, like those hookups experiences where I realized like, oh, you don't got to do all this shit. You only got to do that shit for the ones you really like,
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you don't really got to do all that for all these girls. So anyway,
well, see, I that didn't even sink in though at that point in my life. It wasn't until after.
Did you think it was like a one-off? Like it was like, oh, this is just a fluke.
Yeah, it was a fluke. I thought it was a total fluke. Yeah,
I think the first time I thought that, but after
I had a couple of hookups, but they were all Navy chicks. So I just thought Navy chicks were just slutty, and but regular good girls aren't. I know good girls are slutty too. Yeah.
No, like see, like being in the church, I knew pastor daughters were sluts. I banged a few of those. Yeah. And then we prayed and asked God for forgiveness. We had to do that afterwards. Like it was like, we got to ask God for forgiveness.
Well, it'd be weird to do it during,
Yeah. So like me and this chick hooked up, right? And it started becoming a regular thing. She would invite me over, and it was like I never invited her to my place. Mm-hmm. She always went to her place. And then like there was like 3 weeks to a month, no, about a month and a half. Like we just didn't see each other. Like my work schedule changed. We were both like security forces, but we worked in two different divisions. Like there was the missile security, and that means you were part of PRP, so you had a higher clearance, and then you had just the LE, the law enforcement side, and then you're gate guard, pretty much. And that she was part of the law enforcement side. I was part of the missile security side. And so like our schedules changed and like we didn't really see each other. And I heard that she got with somebody. I heard she got a boyfriend. So I wasn't even like gonna entertain like reaching out to her. Because like, oh, she got a man. That's cool.
She's spoken for now.
Yeah, cool. No problem. Well, then like month and a half, like to almost 2 months later, she hits me up. She's like, hey, come on over. I'm like, no, okay, cool. Come over. And everything as usual. Everything got down. And that night I'm leaving her dorm room before like the monitors come through, and get us all in trouble. I'm leaving. I close the door, I say goodbye, and I'm walking towards the exit. And I hear another door open up behind me. So that's another dorm somewhere down the hall. Open up, another guy's leaving. And he notices where I come out of, and he realizes that I just came out of his best friend's girlfriend's room. And his best friend was on a TDY. And
what's TDY?
So, like a temporary duty station. Like, he's not like, it's like if you're like stationed at, let's say, Everett, Washington, but then your temporary duty station is in Bremerton.
Yeah.
So you're reporting to Bremerton for like a month.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's TDY, and like he decides he's gonna confront the girl. Like, hey, why is this dude leaving your room? This like what the hell's going on? Like, before like going to his friend and saying like your girl's cheating on you, he wanted to get like the scoop, right?
Yeah.
So he addresses her like a day or two later and calls her out, and she told him that I took advantage of her. And she's like, don't tell anybody, okay? Like,
because she didn't want to get in trouble with her boyfriend.
She
fabricated the stuff that an accusation that would absolutely fucking ruin your life.
Yeah, and the thing is, she didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. And she promised me you won't say anything. Promise me you won't say anything to this guy. And the guy being a stand-up guy, like when you hear like this somebody just been sexually assaulted, like you're not gonna be quiet about that. Like,
yeah, your bro's girl just got assaulted. Yeah.
And just in general, if you know or you believe that someone just sexually assaulted somebody, you're not just gonna be quiet and be like, okay, I won't say shit. Like you're gonna do the right thing, or what you think is the right thing, and that's gonna be reported. Well, that's how it happened. Like 5 days later, after we hooked up, I get a call. I was off base that OSI was looking for me, and that's like the Air Force version of CIS or NCIS. Yeah. And I was like, what the what? Why? And then a homegirl, like, she's the one that told me this. A friend of mine, she's like, because they said they say you did something to so-and-so. I was like, what the like, did you hook up with her? I was like, yeah, but like, what are you talking about? I was like,
it was consensual. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, well, they're looking for you. So I went back to base, and I went back to my dorm room because they're like, we'll come to you. I'm like, all right. So I'm like on my way to my dorm room, parked my car. There was her boyfriend's friend and her boyfriend, all these guys outside waiting for me on my dorm. And then we get into a fight. Like, it was a brawl. Like, I had me and a buddy of mine at the time, and we just get into a fight. And so, like, kicked a couple asses, got a little bit of my ass kicked, and got to a dorm room. And then it's like 4 a.m. when OSI came in, and they took me to the interview station. And they took me to go get interviewed first. And then they took me to the hospital to get a rape kit done. And that probably was the most embarrassing. It was more embarrassing than going through MEPS. Yeah. Because
I've never experienced
they're doing
that.
a whole lot of swabbing.
Like in your urethra kind of shit?
Not on your urethra, but like, in your areas. Like, they're doing like getting body hair. They're getting, like, when you go to the hospital to get this done, the doctors and the nurses that are doing it, because they were female nurses that were administering this, they know why you're there.
They're judging you.
Yeah, they already know, like, you're getting this test done or this kit done because you did something, or they assume that you did something.
You're at least being accused of it.
Yeah, you're at least being accused of it, and they know what you're being accused of. And it's the most embarrassing thing, because no guy wants to be branded or labeled as somebody that does this. So go through all that. I'm thinking, I have nothing to hide. So I'm just I'm cooperating with them. Yeah, you want to do a rape kit test? Let's go.
You know, that's one interesting thing too, because a lot of people have that mentality, right? Like, oh, if you're innocent, you have nothing to hide, right? Cooperate with the cops. One thing that I learned getting my concealed carry permit is that don't cooperate with the cops. Like, get an attorney. Shut the fuck up and get an attorney.
I didn't do that until like halfway through.
Whether you were innocent or not, right? Like, because anything you say, right? That, you know what? Anything you say can and will be used against you. It is a fucking fact. So you want to shut the fuck up and say, I need an attorney.
Yep. And because like you're under the impression, right? Like, if I tell the truth, if I'm just honest with them,
right,
you're going to be clear.
Honesty is the best policy. That's I mean, the cops are not your friends.
They're not.
This is for the guys in the audience. Like, you obviously know, cops are not your friends.
And it's the way that they investigate, right? So it's actually called what is it called? It's called it's the way that they investigate. It's I'm trying to figure out the term again. It is it's like the approach is it's the presumption of innocence, right? So they it's the presumption of guilt when they are investigating you. The presumption is of guilt. Yeah. So instead of coming from a neutral place, instead of like from a fact-finding case, when it comes to sexual crimes,
any kind of crime, really. Yeah.
Well, and actually the Center for False Accusations or Center for I got it right here. Center for Prosecutor Integrity. They describe it as like they tend to see these cases to be more like presumed guilty during the investigation, rather than presumed like coming from like a level of innocence or like neutral.
Yeah.
Like they just assume that you're guilty. Do
you think that's because it's sort of like the idea, you know, we're all sort of raised, especially men, and there's a lot of male cops, but a lot of men are sort of raised to like protect women, like got to protect women at all costs. So it's like you just immediately assume this guy's a bad guy.
Well, I think there's that, but we also know that there's quite a history of these like instances over time. Like we've all war brides. We know that they would just rape and pillage women. You know, like we know that there's this bad behavior that has been displayed by men when it comes to interacting with women that has gone unpunished for a very long time. You know, so like it's just kind of like we just all kind of assume like, oh yeah, he's capable of that. Like it's the fact that like we know that they're capable. We take that the fact that they are physically capable of doing something like this to it. That's because since they're physically capable of doing it, they did it. Without doing a due diligence. So, so I try to work with the law enforcement, and when they actually told me that they're charging me with it, because they didn't tell me right away. They did the investigation, they did all the probing stuff like that. I didn't leave their office till like 6 a.m. the following day.
They don't typically just lead with you're being charged. They lead with no, if you work with us, like things will go better for you. And you're like, yeah, I've got nothing to hide. It's like,
and I remember like you had to report to your like first sergeant. Like for you guys it would be like a chief, right? So I had to report to my first sergeant and told him what happened, and he's like, if nothing, you're a good guy, like this should be all should be all washed over. Don't worry about it. Like if what you're saying is true, no problem. This would be a little bump in the road. Just keep your head down, Well, at that time, they had no physical evidence. Let me just tell you this: they had no physical evidence because it was days later when they.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rape kits need to happen like on the spot.
Yeah,
like basically like right after the attack for them to get any kind of DNA evidence from an attacker. Yeah,
it was days later. She's already showered. I've already showered. You know, like
Mhm.
there was no trace evidence of anything.
Mhm.
All they went off of was her statement versus my statement.
Mhm.
And that was all the evidence that they had.
Right.
They had that, so they had no way to confirm who was telling the truth, but that was the evidence that they ran with. Now, I felt like at the time there was a lot of pressure to prosecute
Mhm.
because just down south in Colorado Springs, they just women cadets were talking about the sexual hazing that was going on. So the Air Force was already under a negative microscope at the time.
So they needed an example, or you at least thought they did.
Also, Kobe Bryant was also going through his case in Colorado at that time.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I think like it was a combination of both because F.E. Warren is a big base, but it's a small community.
Mm-hmm.
So people that didn't know me knew what I was accused of. Everybody knew what I was accused of. That was like the worst thing. Like there was no kept secret. Like it was already out. Everybody knew. And I went like the court martial took 9 months. And 9 months of like being assaulted or attacked, you know, threatened, had my car vandalized, you know, like
wow.
And these are from people that I had to serve with, right? Like I didn't know who did it, like the vandalism and stuff, but you know, these are people that I had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going through a really bad depression. I ended up having to get hospitalized because I wasn't eating. I wouldn't want to leave my dorm, just because of like what was going on. I didn't really feel like I had a whole lot of allies, or I didn't talk to anybody. Like I didn't tell nobody in my family what I was accused of until I actually had the court martial. And I didn't tell my mom because my mom was a rape victim. So I didn't want her to think that I was like the guy that, you know, did something to her. I told my dad, and my dad and my mom were divorced, so they didn't care. And my dad flew out for my court martial. And I remember like going through it, like it was like we didn't even know what was going to happen, like the day of it. Then the guy that, long story short, but the guy that ended up turning me in ended up being my star witness.
Really?
He ended up witnessing her do this again. She ended up doing this again at some party. She
did it again during the middle of the court martial. Okay, that chick just sounds like a genius, but good for you. That's lucky for you.
Yeah. Well, and she also perjured herself on the stand as well.
Did she get in trouble for that?
No,
of course not. Yeah.
So like they you know, they got the charges. Like after the court martial, I was reinstated and everything, but the mental stress and damage already took place. Like everything during that 9 months already hit me so hard. It deliberated me from even progressing any further in my military career, that I ended up getting out on a medical discharge, because I had PTSD from everything. You know, they said that like, you know, just was I lost my clearance. So once I lost my clearance, I was like, that's pretty much it for me. So it ended my career short. And
how long did you end up serving?
Like only 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was it kicked like that was, it was even that too, knowing that my goal was 20 years. Like I'm 38 right now.
Yeah.
Like I would be fully retired. I have friends that are like in the Navy. Like one of my buddy who retired as a senior chief in the Navy. He was a nuke on subs. He was on the Alabama.
Yeah.
And me and him are still talking. We actually just talked the other day. He's in Nevada. So when I go out to Vegas, like in the beginning of February with Rollo and all them, with Thor, I'm gonna meet up with him, you know, while I'm out there. But like even
this will have dropped after you guys met up, but there's a space-time continuum here with the Monday episodes.
Yeah. So like, you know, like even like with him, like he was telling me like, you know, there's a lot that goes on, and I was just so wiped. I was so depressed just like from failing. That was my goal. 20 years, retire at 38, could pursue another career, like golden. And then my whole world went down from there. And this spiral of like alcohol, drugs, you know, trying to, you know, figure things out, being afraid of women, you know, like I remember when me and my wife got together, like the only way that I could have sex with her was to get belligerently drunk. Because that was the only way that I could, I had to be high or drunk in order to have sex, because that was the only way I could like detach from anything.
Was it finally like, what was it finally Paul Benjamin's work that helped you through that? Or did you get some therapy while you were married?
I didn't get therapy for that at all. One, like the VA wasn't really helpful at first. I didn't get like my benefits like really until 2018. And mind you, I got it out like way earlier than that.
The VA is so inefficient.
Like actually, I still have a case with them. I have a case with them. They're supposed to pay me back from all the way from 2006. You know, so me and my lawyer are working on this like back pay since they, you know, raised my benefits to 100% now. So they're like, well, if you guys know that he's supposed to be 100%, he's supposed to be 100% back then. So you owe him all these years of not 100%. So we got that going, but you know, it's just like there was no help, so I had to figure it out myself. And I kind of that's when I kind of fell back into the church. I grew up in the church, and that kind of like was my saving grace. Like, you know, met my wife in church. I was hung over in church, and met her there, and then that just kind of like falling into the TradCon world kind of got me out of the alcohol, the drugs, and stuff like that. You know, that was kind of like that's what I needed at the time. And that worked, and I thought like that frame was going to be my saving grace forever until the affair. But like it was like working in counseling with pastors and stuff like that. Working with pastors really is kind of what helped me get through that. Like, although I never looked at it as this is how women are, I looked at it as like, well, you were fornicating with somebody that was not your wife. So right out the gate, son, you're doing sin. You're committing a sin. And when sin happens. Like when sin happens, shit happens, right? Like, so like, what can you say? Like, if you're committing a sin, shit happens. And that was kind of like the way how I, you know, end up justifying it is like, okay, well, I was doing wrong because I was sleeping around with somebody that wasn't my wife and blah, blah, blah. And so this is an effect of not doing it the way the Bible says. That's how I understood it or justified it. So that's kind of like how I processed it, you know. And then it was until after reading Rollo's work that I started working on that aspect of my life, like understanding why and knowing why these things took place. Like Rollo's work really helped me a lot in understanding just the dynamics between relationships with women altogether. Like even my own relationship with my mom, I understood why certain things were the way they were because of who she was. So,
100%. I could see that. I look at my mom in a different way now, not necessarily that she was, you know, she's this hypergamous slutty creature or something, but yeah, just like her ego investment and stuff into her kids, and how like women sort of look at kids as an extension of themselves, you know, kind of thing. So I absolutely see that when I'm dealing with my mom.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I was just talking to Afi last night as I was dropping him off to the airport, because he asked me a question. He's like, man, like how do you navigate this relationship? Like, because he knows like me and my mom have an estranged relationship. Like I don't talk to her. Like how are you able to just cut her off like that? I was like, you know what? It's all about frame. Frame is everything. Always be in, you know, always control the frame in your relationships, and you know, never get off the.
There's a reason why it's iron rule number 1.
Yeah, and I was like, think about this. Remove who the person is, remove who this person is to you. So remove the fact that it's your mom. Would you take this behavior from any, would you want this behavior from any other woman in your life? He's like, no, like, well, there's the principle. Mm-hmm. That's the principle of it. Is like, you wouldn't take this behavior from anybody else. But so the fact that it's this person, that's what's hanging you up. So if you go back to the principle, if this behavior is bad and you don't want this behavior in your life, it doesn't matter who it comes from. Mm-hmm. You remove whoever's committing that behavior out of your life. And he's like, if you got, and that's what I did. I put up the wall and I don't communicate with certain people anymore. Like understanding the frame aspect of the red pill, like that was more mind blowing and eye opening than anything else. You know, so.
Have you read Ryan's book yet? His newest one?
Oh, Praxeology. You know what? I just ordered it.
Oh, okay. I haven't read it yet. I've got it right here, but
yeah, I just ordered
Shout out to Ryan Stone.
I did watch. I did read the first one though. That was pretty dope. That was a good one.
Oh, his Fuck Files book. Yeah, that was actually interesting. And what I really liked about that was I didn't know he was a sailor. I didn't really know that much about Ryan when I bought that book. I mean, I knew of him, and that's why I bought the book, because I was sort of on this journey of reading all the Rule Zero guys' stuff so that I could get him on the podcast, you know, and get to know him. And so I was like, the one thing I love reading. So I thought that was the best way of doing it, is actually getting to understand them by reading their books and stuff. And I was like, holy shit, Ryan's a sailor too. This is great. So
yeah, I didn't become a big reader until I turned 30, you know, right? And because that's when I was going to college for ministry. Yeah. And when you're going to divinity school, like there's a whole lot of theology you're reading. I mean, you're reading a lot. Like I have books like this thick, you know, like, so then I started getting to reading then. And then I read like all of Rollo's work, read Ryan's work, read Rich's book.
Rich's book is good too. Really like I've read that. I've read that twice.
Yeah. I also got that one on Audible. That was cool. Although I wouldn't hire him as a voice actor ever. You know, I mean, I do voice acting, so I would.
He's kind of a stoic guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but his edits were rough. Like, I mean, they were rough. Rich, if you listen, if you ever watch this, you know,
there's a few gotchas in Rollo's latest book. I reached out to Rollo because I was going through and doing his his 49 Maxims of Game out of that book. I was doing a TikTok series of it. And as I was like listening to it, I was like, hey, at this time mark, there's this mess up here. And, you know.
You know, it's like, I like Sam Bada.
Like, did you like, so, you know,
I like Sam Bada's voice way better than this other guy. Like, I mean, no disrespect to the other guy, but
I'm the opposite. In fact, I don't want to say anything bad about Sam Bada because he and Ryan and Rollo are real close. So this isn't like a jab at Sam, but to me, Sam's voice comes across as really like cynical and condescending as he's reading The Rational Male.
I like it. I think I like it.
Though?
I think so. I think there was moments because like it clicked to me like you idiot, like the way he was saying it, like the way he was delivering it, like as if he was reading it to me. Made me feel like I was an idiot for not catching it. And I was like, that's kind of what I like. See, I thrive off in negativity. Like
most people do actually.
Don't give me a pat on the back. Don't give me like, oh, you're great. Like that shit doesn't do nothing for me. Yeah. Everything that I succeeded at doing is because somebody told me I couldn't do it. You know, like when I got into bodybuilding, like I was 285 pounds. I knew competitors that said like, you will never get on stage, dude. You don't have what it takes. Well, I beat them. I beat them. I outplaced them. I got sponsored before them. I did it, you know, same thing with school. Like my mom told me I was stupid as a kid, that, you know, I was not bound for college. Well, I ended up going back at 30, becoming a 4.0 student on honor roll the entire time in a degree that like, I don't use, it's not even, I don't use it as a profession at all. But like, I understand that read a dead language that nobody speaks anymore. Like, you know, like, I did it, like, you know, getting into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Who makes it in Hollywood? Nobody ever really makes it. Like all the people that really try, it's like the percentage is less than the NFL.
Yeah.
I got into more feature films in my first 4 years than the average person. I got more speaking roles and made connections. Like I have Tom Arnold's phone number in my phone. I work with Tom Arnold. He's a friend of mine. I've worked with, international celebrities that, modeling, runway photography. Like, I have a plethora of friends and connections now, like that most people would never have gotten.
Yeah.
And it's all because somebody told me you couldn't do it. So like, don't tell me what I can't do. If you want me to succeed, like if you want me to become president, tell me I can't become president of the United States.
You're like, oh yes, I can.
Like, you thought Donald Trump was bad? Wait. Like
President Glenn Lawrence on that.
Oh yeah, like I did a podcast about that. If I was president, what I would do. It's pretty.
Oh
funny.
yeah. You and Phil Foster have one where it's like, who would you vote for? I saw a thing on social media about that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. We're talking about like how we would fix divorce and stuff, but like going through everything.
Yeah.
Like the whole, gRape allegation. It changed the way I interact with people completely. It also changed the way I look at things. Like now when I hear about people getting accused of things, I'm the last one to make an assumption.
That's a smart way to go, because a lot of people immediately jump the gun. They immediately jump the gun. It's like, my God. Yeah.
When you are accused of something like this, it's a crime that you never get to shake. Like when people know about what you are allegedly accused of, you're never cleared innocently all the way. Right. And here's the thing. And the reason why, because the feminist narrative, right, will say that, well, they just don't have enough to convict him, but he did it. They believe all women.
Right.
It's this patriarchal, institution that set up. That's why he got off. You're never clear. There's no, like, although the judge and everybody could, verdict, you could be innocent, not guilty.
Is it still on your record? Like, or is it expunged?
No, I don't have any charges on my record.
Okay.
Like
if they did if someone wanted to do a background check on you, they wouldn't find I
said, I worked for the penitentiary. I was a corrections officer, and that never popped up.
Okay. Yeah. So it's probably pretty safe to say it's not. Then.
Like it's not there. I mean, I've had clearances, top secret clearances, and like when I worked on base as other things, like after the military, it never showed up. But it may not affect like it affects your social, environment and interaction more than anything else. And then that ends up affecting your work relationships. Right.
Yeah. Got it.
So
Yeah.
like for the longest time, I didn't feel comfortable working with a woman. I didn't like working with a woman alone at all. Like ever. Yeah. It took a long time to get me comfortable. And like when your boss will ask you why but you have a problem with her, what she do to you? Like you don't want it to say like, hey, I was involved in this, and then they're gonna think of you like, oh, so this guy's we don't want him working with girls either because he might be doing like it's so negative. Yeah, you can't even bring it up. You gotta bottle that stuff in. Yeah, you have to hold on to it. You have to hold it tight to your chest. And it's like, when you find a girl that you like, and she's wondering like, why aren't you just jumping on her bones? Like she's sending you all the choosing signals, right? But you're waiting for this audible, consent, because like you are stuck at this gate. You're not going to cross this line until you have something, that is irrefutable to clear, to say like this is what's going on. And women don't handle rejection very well. No. And then they'll throw the signals at you and they'll ask you like, why aren't you like, why aren't you picking up the signals? And they'll just like curve you after throwing so many signals, and you're not jumping on it because you are smart enough. Like you're like, no, I got to protect myself here. I want her to say it, like, yeah. Like that's one thing that we brought up, and maybe we can wrap up here because we're way over time, but it's going to be a long episode, which is fine. But we were talking about this sort of backstage. I don't know if we talked about it a little bit at the beginning too, but I've always been the guy that's like of the mindset of, there's guys in the comments that say, oh, well, I don't even want to talk to women because you're going to get accused of this sort of thing. And I've always been like, well, how often does that really happen? And you don't need to verbally ask for consent. Like you can sort of read body language and stuff like that. But your situation,
wasn't like that. You went into a situation where you did have consent. The body language, she invited you to hook up, but she accused you to try to get out of trouble with her boyfriend, right? Like that's a fucked up
there
situation.
was text messages too. That's the funny thing. There was text messages that cleared me.
Mm-hmm.
But because of all the pressure and everything that was going on at the academy and everything that was going on in Colorado with Kobe, like the commander was going through the whole, he was not going to and he was going through the whole thing.
Yeah.
At my expense. And, I get it. I'm glad that he did his due diligence. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want him not to do his due diligence and do anything like that, like just cut corners just because they believe that it's not true. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they went through the full thing. The thing that I'm not happy about is the fact that they didn't protect my innocence until proven guilty.
Right.
They let me get convicted by public, and
public opinion.
Yeah. First, and allow the things that transpired. Like they didn't necessarily allow it, but they didn't do anything to deter it. There was no protection there. And
that's actually a tactic that like San Diego district attorneys do. They will, if they're prosecuting a case, it doesn't matter if you're still going through the court system, you're innocent until proven guilty. They will release it to the press, and the press will drag you through the fucking mud, and you are guilty until proven innocent. It's like they're trying to poison the juror pool.
It is. That's what they're doing. And it's like,
again, the police and the system is not your friends. That's why you need to lawyer the fuck up and shut up.
You gotta look at this. Like, you could be the most innocent person.
Yep.
You could say one statement that it could be misconstrued, and they'll take it to mean something else, something that you're not even referencing it to.
Well, one thing too, a lot of people don't know this, but there's basically, if you're being questioned by police, and whatever the police write down on a piece of paper becomes what you said, whether that's what you said or not. Doesn't matter. Yep. Legally, that's what you said in court. And so that's why you shut the fuck up. I cannot stress this enough. You shut the fuck up and you say, I want to talk to a lawyer or my lawyer. If you have one, great. Usually, you might not have one, but
don't make a statement at all whatsoever, ever. Like, if police ask you, like, take you in for questioning, lawyer up. I don't care if it's for jaywalking. When
I got my concealed carry permit, I signed up for concealed carry insurance through USCCA. And the reason why I did that was because how much a lawyer costs during my divorce. I was like, I'm prepaying for this shit. So the USCCA, if I shoot somebody, they give you cards, and if you shoot somebody, if the cops show up, you hand them the card and you shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Because basically the card says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to cooperate with the investigation, but first I need to speak with my attorney. And then the USCCA will provide you an attorney, but they say, shut the fuck up and don't cooperate with the police. Wait till the lawyer.
Yeah. And it sounds bad, but you have to. At the end of the day, you have to protect yourself. And when it comes to me, like now I'm a lot better working with women. Now I understand things so much more. I understand signals. I understand body language. I understand like the medium is the message. I understand, so much more now than I did then. But I could see why guys are hesitant to want to communicate with women. And the reason why is because they don't know everything else. They don't know body language. They don't know how women communicate. They don't understand women's nature as well as they should. And it's because of that, the fact that they don't know is why they're like, you know what? It's better for me not to communicate with them because I don't know how they communicate because they were never taught. They're not, or they're not taking the initiative to learn. And I'm like, even though being accused of it, like I just did a film with this chick that's on the TV show SWAT. Very beautiful young actress, like very, like we had a good time. And we connected, we vibed, we're chilling, we're having a good time on set. No problems. Even like I did the sex scene, right, in the movie. No problems once we got into it. It took time to get comfortable because it's a stranger, but like no problems when you understand how women communicate rather than, assuming.
That's a great point that you make, because that's one thing that I think a lot of these guys just don't understand. They're so afraid of what they've heard in the news, stories like this. I don't want guys listening to this story going, well, see, that's why I'm never going to talk to women. It's like, no, you should really take the time to understand how women's nature, how to understand body language. It's really not that hard. There's plenty of YouTube videos on it, and then, test for interest. That's really all you can do. But I wouldn't live in fear of stuff like this.
No, I would never tell guys to live in fear. Even now, I refuse to live in fear. My approach may be different than yours, but I'm not living in fear.
Yeah.
Which
is good, because I do like having other guys takes on stuff, because I don't look at my way's the only way. You know what I mean? Yeah. I personally am, I say don't ask for consent. Look for body language, stuff like that. What would you recommend to guys?
So in my relationship, I'm a dominant. So getting an answer, a rhetorical response from her is part of the process. You want this dick, don't you? Yes, I want you to fuck me. That right there, that's consent.
Okay. Yeah.
So I sexualized it. I made it part of,
Ooh, I like that, man. Yeah.
So I took something that that would be a turnoff.
Yeah.
And I reframed it to where it's my tool. It's like I'm not asking permission. You're begging me for it. You're asking me for it. I'm giving you the answer, and I'm giving you the question, and you're responding.
Yeah, that's actually a smart way of doing it, because I mean, generally, a lot of guys don't realize too that women love dirty talk. So, yeah. And if you tell them stuff like, you love the way I fuck you and stuff like that, right? Like, in their left ear zone, guys. If you do that kind of stuff, they like, even if they don't verbally give you something back. In this case, you do want them to verbally give you something back, but even if they don't, they are internalizing that shit, and they are like, it's getting that hamster wheel going, and they are just turned the fuck on.
Yeah. So I end up using something that was a hindrance. It's a turnoff, and I use it to my advantage. Because I established that dominant presence. I established that dominant man. Like, I'm a very dominant person in general. I can be very calm and collective, but when it comes to like my shit, like, you're not gonna push me around.
That's smart. There's a similar example is there's a lot of guys in the space that say, like, don't confirm dates, right? Set the date and then show up. And it's like, and I absolutely, like, I always confirm dates, but the way I do it is I will message them like the night before and say, hey, I can't wait to see what you picked out for me. It's not a needy way of doing it, and it's kind of a flirty way of doing it, but you're still confirming.
I do it again, like the same thing, more dominant. I'll message them. So where will I see you tomorrow? What will you be wearing?
Yeah. There you go.
So like it's more of a they already know where we're gonna meet, because I already set up the date.
Yeah.
But I'm confirming by the way of making sure that they know that I know where they have to be tomorrow. Like that they know that I know there's an obligation, or there's an appointment that they have to meet tomorrow. They gave their word. So I'm just reaffirming that with them in a very like dominant, standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. So like, it's like, they want this dick. Oh, they're going to be there tomorrow. They're going to be wearing this tomorrow. You're not going to wear panties when I see you tomorrow. So when I see you, like, you're going to prove to me that you're not wearing panties. Like that. There's a way to do it. Right. That where you could still get consent. You could still get, the verbal, confirmation of everything, and it not be a turnoff.
Yeah.
It's just how you frame it. And, it's kind of like, and I'll tie it into with your program that you just did, your course. Like, you're about, well, it's really, your course is about like pursuing.
You mean this course?
That course. Yeah. Like, what do you want to attract? there's a reframing in your mind that you have to have first before you can start attracting the things that you want to attract, right? You have to recondition how you view things and how you see things, and first before you could even start attracting these things.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't realize that your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions really control how your body operates and how you carry how you carry yourself, and how people actually see you. They can see when you're nervous, people can see your fucking nervousness, right?
Yeah.
It's not magic, it's not hocus pocus, it's not vibrations, it's fucking like your emotions control your body.
Absolutely. And as an actor, like, it's really that, like, your course really hit for me. Like, I think it's like, in a way, it's like a really good intro to acting course when you think about mindset, right? When you think about framing, because every time I get a script and I get a role, right, I get a description of this character, and I got to become this character. I got to become this character to the point where it's believable, right? Well, how do I do that? I got to become this person. Well, how do I do that? I have to reframe my mind onto who this person is, and I got to be like mentally become this person and make it believable.
If you gotta believe it yourself,
I got to convince myself that I'm this person for this time, you know, and I'm this character, and the mannerisms of this character is like this, like, and I start mimicking it. I start becoming this character during the time of filming, and that's who I am, you know. So like, I kid you not, like, that was the first thing I thought of, like, when I was, you know, reviewing your course, like, this is like intro to acting 101. Like this is great. Like, it connected with me.
It's funny that you you know, likened it to acting. There's a specific reason why I made that the first course that I made. I'm gonna make some other courses and stuff like that. It's also the first chapter in the book that I'm writing, because once you can master what we call the law of attraction, right? But once you master your mindset, that's everything else goes from there. Like, you can get the jobs that you want, you can, get the kinds of girls that you want, because it's all mindset. So once you fix that mindset, anything else is possible after that. So that's why I made that like my first course.
No, it's a great course. Everybody that's listening, just do yourself a favor. Whether you are good with, with women, or good with, your career, this course will benefit you. It will open your mind to see things differently in areas that you may not have seen them in. Like, that's why I said, like, I saw this in a great way for acting. I would recommend your course to actors that are new into the industry, just for the simple fact, for the way that you simplify understanding how, like, reframing, or like, just how to get your mindset right. Like, it's way different than a lot of other people that talk about mindset. It's a little bit more like I would say it's like the layman's version of mindset. It's not saying
I would agree with that. I
wouldn't say you're lame, but I'm just saying, like, it's like
it's
something that digestible, that anybody that from any age could actually listen to and understand, and without the big words, and without like the huge terminology, and you do away with like the woo mystical magic stuff, which makes it more just science based, and that's more like attainable rather than like make believe. Yeah. And I think that's what like really hit home for me.
Yeah, I really did want to sort of make it for the average guy, because man, I'm one of those guys that I cannot stand $10 words. I couldn't finish Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life because I felt like I had to walk around with a thesaurus with that shit.
Rollo's book did the same thing to me too. Like,
yeah, if Rollo uses some $10 words for sure.
I have the word like superfluous. Like,
dude, everyone does. Yeah, that's in everyone's lexicon now.
Those term words in his stream, he goes, "All right, class, here's your vocabulary word for the day." Like, no, I literally write that shit down, and I look it up and I understand it. I try to understand what it's a new word for me to learn. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's education. Like, I take it, because he uses some big words.
If it like, so Rollo, the way he works his words in, it's in a way for me that I can understand the flow of the sentence. And so I can figure out the gist of what he's saying.
Yep.
Whereas someone like Jordan Peterson's book, it's like every word is an unnecessary $10 word. And I'm like, I can't understand the flow of the sentence.
I can barely understand the way Jordan Peterson talks. He talks like how he writes, So like, sometimes when he's talking, I'm just like I had to like watch his address to the church video like 4 or 5 times before really understanding what he was. I mean, I knew what he was getting at, the gist of it, but like to get really in depth with it, like I had to really understand, like take time to like really pay attention to this, because it didn't come across so easily for me. So like I don't even want to read Jordan Peterson's work. You know,
no, it's exhausting.
It may be good, but it sounds like a chore, and it doesn't even sound like even someone remotely like, you know, entertaining. You know, like no, like nah, I'll take that back.
I had a guy who he's going through the course now, and he's a firefighter, and he was, and I apparently I didn't know this about him, but apparently he's just a high school graduate, and he's like, dude, you've broken it down to where a high school graduate could understand this. And that was my goal. Like, I want people to go into it and have fun with it too, because it's a very relaxed course. Like, you know, it's not all very strict. I'm sitting there drinking sodas just like this.
Yeah, no, like I said, like the way that you did it was so informal, but educational at the same time. Where it's like you're just talking, like we're just talking now, where you're just talking to your bro, and he's just downloading some information to you. And you're just discussing it as if you would talk to anybody else. And it wasn't like a lecture. It wasn't like, you know, course, you know, classroom, get your books out, you know, turn to page 76 and we're going to be reading about, you know, like it wasn't nothing like that. It was very, you know, casual, but informative. And I think everybody will really benefit from, you know, taking time to get that course. Like, and I don't push courses. Like one thing I don't even plan on creating a course for myself. Like Thor keeps on trying to get me to create a course. I'm going to help him with this dominant masculine presence course. Because
I actually really like that course.
It's a great course. It's a great course. I mean, I've read it. I reviewed it numerous times. And I'm going to be working with him on developing like the physical side, like how to become that guy, right? So because it falls right in line with acting too.
He uses an example from Vikings in that, on like how the actors actually have to learn this so that they can have that presence on TV.
The mannerisms, the character, the walk, you know, just all the subtle little things that you kind of overlook. Yeah, that really create. It's not the way that they say the words. It's not like the volume or the it's not like the tone, you know, so much. It's in the body language. It's in the mannerisms. It's in every little detail. How he turns his head, you know, like how his stance. You know, how he looks at people. It's so, all these little details are so critical in becoming that character.
You know what? I don't mean to cut you off. Man, we're getting really long here, but that's fine. The one thing that I've done since that course is I try when I have the habit of walking up to people, like as I'm walking by people in the store, and I nod to them like, hey, you know, how's it going? And he talks about how that's a submissive thing to do. And I was like, I never thought about it before. That's just something I've done my whole life. So now I'm very conscious of it. And so I'll be at the gym and I'll go up to someone. I'm like, don't do it. And then I'll nod. I'll go, fuck, you know, like in my head, I'm just like, fuck.
It's not the nod down. So it's the nod down that's submissive. Yeah. You go right. Like this. It's the up where it's supposed to dominate. It's like,
right.
What's up, man?
That's why I'm beating myself up over it because of that course, because I find myself doing it now. And I never thought of it before until that course. And so now I'm like, dude, either don't fucking nod down at all. That's better. Not doing it.
How about you just avert your eyes? Just break eye contact.
Dude, I live out in farm country. We're too nice. We're fucking waving we do the farmer's wave when people drive down the road.
The whole arm.
Like, oh yeah, the big fight. Hey, neighbor. Yeah. So I don't know. So what I'm trying to do now is just get to a place where I just am not immediately nodding, and I'm just trying not to nod. And then I'm working up to it. I'm working up to the place where I'm like, sup, SA? Oh, my dog wants out of here. We better wrap this up.
All right. Yeah. No, it's more of a challenge. Like, right, when you're not up, you're challenging them. Yeah, it's a challenge of masculinity. You're like, what's up? You want to get down? Like, is it in the streets? And, you know, gangs would be like, what's up, man? Who are you? You want to fight? You know, like, it's a challenge. So the nod down is submissive. Like, no, like you're bowing down to them, right? It's like taking a knee, you know? So anytime you nod up, like you have like that mindset, like it's like, oh wait a minute, this could get real.
It's like it's like making eye contact with people. How
Yeah.
you have to step out of your comfort zone to even do that for the same reason. So, my dog's going nuts here. So let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
Glenn,
Almost 2 hours. Wow.
Dude, this was a great conversation, man. Where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Glenn_Lawrence_presents. It's on YouTube at Glenn Lawrence, on Facebook at Glenn Lawrence. My website's glenlawrencepresents.com. Twitter, I think it's Mr. Glenn Lawrence. I'm on social media. Just Glenn Lawrence.
I'll put links in the description.
Yeah. I think I have I have a link tree that has everything that's all connected.
There you go. I'll put the link tree in the description.
Yeah. But like, for me, I think where I'm moving now in this space now is like, I kind of want to build a bridge. I want to build a bridge with not to say build a bridge, but I want to show like, people from religious backgrounds that you could have a red pill lens and still hold on to your biblical worldview. I think that like, people like Hafiz and Ruslan try to really like shame the red pill, and try to say that it's not biblical, and it's not, it conflicts with their religious views. And my goal is to like really just clarify these things.
There's a whole Christian red pill, rock.
Yeah, like that. I mean,
that's
that doesn't make sense to me, And I think what they're doing by keeping Christian men that are not allowed to read this content, they're setting it up for failure. They're setting those guys up to go through what I went through, And I don't wish that on my enemy. On my worst enemy, I do not wish them going through the divorce and the turmoil and all the stress that I went through. So like I'm trying to help bridge that gap. Now I'm not the most my reverend collar is not the most cleanest anymore. Like I definitely awfully don't attend church on the regular anymore, but I still have my beliefs. I still read my Bible. I still have my
we're all sinners, brother.
Oh yeah. I still believe and I still uphold the values and try to walk out that life as best as I can. I just know that like the modern day church today is not, it's feminized. And, there's a few pastors out there, like I'm connected with a few that have it together, but not many. And so my thing is like the guys that are leaving church and they're find their way here and they're conflicted. I'm trying to show them that like, look, you could have your biblical worldview, you could have your biblical beliefs, and you can still have the red pill lens. The red pill is just a bunch of tools. You get to pick and choose which tool works for your worldview and apply it. You don't have to be, banging a bunch of women.
Yeah.
If that's not your conviction. You don't have to have multiple wives or girls if it's not your conviction.
If any red pill content creator is telling you how to live, that's not red pill.
And it's not even the red pill content creators telling people how to live. It's the people that misinterpreting red pill content are telling people, they're saying that you have to do these things or, you could do these things. And nobody in the red pill is saying that.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of lane right now. That's what I'm working on.
I love it, man. Well, keep in touch. We'll I'll pop into the DragonShip periodically, so you can follow Glenn on the DragonShip as well. I'll post a link to that too. Other than that, man, hey, thanks for joining me today. This is an epically long podcast.
Yeah, it's a good one. You might want to break this one in two or something. I don't know.
Oh, maybe I will do that. Part 1, part 2.
Part 1 was the marriage. Part 2 is
maybe I will do that. Yeah. There we go. All right, man. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining me.
All right. Peace.
Glenn, thanks for joining me today, brother. You're welcome back anytime. Man, that sucks that you had to go through all that. Those false allegations that would be an issue for a lot of guys. I think the information that you gave the guys today though is very useful, especially for guys that are afraid of situations like that and they want to prevent that from happening without just completely giving up on women altogether. So thank you again, man. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime. And otherwise, I think we'll probably see you on an upcoming episode of the DragonShip because I pop in there quite a bit these days. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I have this week. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Drop a comment. Any comment will do. If you're listening on your favorite audio platform of choice, give us a 5-star review and actually write out why you like the show. Follow me on all social media platforms, not just one, you know, like, oh, I'm only on Twitter or whatever. I'm on all of them. And I suggest you follow me on multiple ones because I might get banned at any minute. And, you know, as someone that's worked in the IT field for a long time, I sort of like that redundancy. So if you like my content, you don't want to miss anything, follow me on at least 2 platforms. So the links are in the description for that. Get on the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. Get on the beer credits at the end of these episodes, these Monday episodes. And if you want more than that, right? If you want some kind of coaching, maybe you want like life coaching, maybe you want some date coaching. I'm helping lots of guys out right now with that sort of thing. So get on either tier 2 or tier 3 of the Patreon. And that's how I handle my coaching. It's just, for me, it's just easier for that. It's subscription based. And, you know, once you get what you need from the program, then you can cancel your subscription. It's not that hard. I don't lock you in with a contract like, okay, this is 6 months. We're doing this. It's get what you need out of it and then get out. You know, it's as easy as that. I have a couple of people that have transitioned out of the Patreon already. They got what they needed. They're you know, on the path that they want to be on. Great. More power to them. You know, I don't want to keep you here forever. You know, eventually, you know, birdie's got to fly. Birdie's got to fly the nest. So, but if you do think that you need some help right now, join the Patreon today, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. And it's either tier 2 or tier 3, depending on what your needs are. Be sure to get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I will send you some free stickers for your troubles. If you like these designs too, you can also get these on t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that from my merch store. You can get that at merch.comeonmanpod.com, or if you're watching on YouTube, down below the video, I've got some of that merch available there because it's through Teespring and there's an integration with YouTube. So check that out. Check out the Law of Attraction course, my practical Law of Attraction course. It's chick crack free. So there's no woo-woo magic. There's no crystals and chakras. Okay. There's basically 3 explanations for the Law of Attraction, right? There's a spiritual one, there's a quantum theory one, and then there's a psychological one. So for this course, I really tried to stick to the psychological explanation for the Law of Attraction, just to keep things in a space where more people will believe it and, you know, sort of get the best results out of it. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to get any results, right? You're going to pay for the course and go, this is bull crap. I don't believe that. So I tried to explain it using psychology and psychological explanations for things so that you're like, oh, okay, I see why this works. I see how this works, right? So it's a mindset course. It's about reprogramming your subconscious mind to achieve goals so big that it will blow your mind. So check that out. A lot of people have taken it already. A lot of people are giving it 5-star reviews. If you go to loa.comeonmanpod.com, I've posted 5 of the reviews there. Those are real reviews from people that have actually taken the course. So check that out. And, you know, if that stuff resonates with you, then sign up and buy it. There's 4.5 hours of video with that. It's not just, you know, a bullshish course. You know what I mean? So you get a lot of information out of it. You're going to be able to put that stuff into action, like as soon as you start going through it. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much all I have for this episode. Catch me on Wednesday for the live stream. I don't know what that is quite yet, but I'm sure it's a good one. The live streams have been really fun. I've been doing those every Wednesday and Friday mornings since January, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. A lot of the guys are in the comment section, sounding off, chiming in. It's been fun. I mean, I don't necessarily like getting up so early because it posts at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I usually get up, and for me, that's 8 a.m. That's 8 a.m. Mountain time. And I'm usually getting up at like 7:15. So I have like 45 minutes to get ready and get on camera. And I'm usually still pretty tired. I have enough time to like get some coffee, you know, add some elements that I need, you know, maybe a video clip or something like that. And then hit record, right? Like or go live, the go live button. I don't have a lot of time in the morning. That's usually why I have a cup of coffee and an energy drink like right there because I'm still waking up. But they're fun anyway. They're fun. So catch that on Wednesday. Other than that, we'll see you guys later.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.